Today's meeting of the Revere Conservation Commission. First item on the agenda is roll call. Member Nicholas Melason. Here. Member Joseph Lavalley. Here. Member Vincent Lauria. Here. Member Ann Raponi.
Here.
Member Vincent Camerata and Member James Cerboni is absent. I'm Andrew DeSantis, Chairman of the Concom. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of July 1st, 2015. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll approve.
Who's that, Vinnie? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Voted in the affirmative. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing, notice of intent, DEP file 061-0668, 205 Revere Beach Parkway, construction of two six-story residential buildings containing a combined approximate 301 units, 105 garage spaces, and 246 spaces within a surface parking area by Transdelcor Gate Residential. Who's going to be presenting for Mark? Introduce yourself.
This is Mark White from Transhealth Corporation. We're co-developers and owners.
Well, let me just get this motion first. I have a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make the motion to open the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Okay, floor is yours, Mark.
Just a brief introduction. I'm Mark White. I'm one of the co-developers, co-owners. I'm on the Transdel side, so there's Transdel and there's Gate Residential.
Could I have your address, Mark?
Sure, it's 84 State Street, Boston, Massachusetts. Zip is 02465.
Thank you.
So this is just by way of a brief introduction. We have our technical people from Howard Stein Hudson. So Hillary Holmes will be doing the presentation for us relative to the commission's work today. And so just as a brief introduction, I'd like to introduce Hillary. She's going to take us through all the items that we want to address today.
Thank you, Mark. Hillary?
Good evening, commission members. So I also have Bob Ingram here.
Introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Hillary Holmes with Howard Stein Hudson. And I'd also like to introduce Bob Ingram with, he's our wet environmental and regulatory compliance specialist on this project. And so we're just going to briefly go over the existing conditions for the site. Bob will discuss that, and then I'll take over and we'll go over the proposed conditions and what we're proposing for the project.
Okay.
The site is all former fill back to Belle Isle water reclamation days. It's all extending from the Suffolk Downs area on Sales Creek. Stop the northern side of the park. Sales Creek forms the northern border. And most of the vegetation is upland vegetation that's surrounding the parking area.
That's the existing site, Bob, with the existing supermarket shown in yellow.
Do you think you should have the microphone?
Yeah, why don't you take the microphone with you, Bob? You can just pick it up. It should be lit green. It is. You're all set.
Yep.
Speak into it, please.
Okay, so the site has one building on it. It was a supermarket, surrounded by the parking. Also has landscaping along the Revere Beach Parkway side and along the rear. It's vegetated. I wouldn't necessarily call it landscaped. It's not like anything was planted there. And what my job was to identify the wetland resources on the site. See the brown line here showing the limits of the 100-year floodplain. The blue line being the limit of wetlands. The northern side is estimated. And the purple line is the bank that we referred to in the notice of intent. The trees and shrubs in this area, it's mostly trees, there's not much understory. growth along the Sales Creek side. Very little grass because of the density of the trees above it. The trees are red maples, sassafras, wild cherry, catalpa, essentially weedy type species, since nothing has been planted there intentionally. The soil along this bank is also bare in most places. Mostly, I think, because it's not really topsoil. It's just sand and other materials that were dumped there at some point in the distant past. So you got the other area we have is Riverfront, where we've assumed the edge of wetland to be the lower edge of the riverfront. That covers most of the site. It's the 200-foot boundary of riverfront area. Since most of that site is previously developed, it's less significant here for this project, as Hillary will show the difference between the two here. So we have floodplain, riverfront area, bordering vegetated wetlands, inland bank, and I believe that's it in terms of resource areas. And yep, so that will be it. I'll pass it on to Hillary.
Thank you.
All right, let me switch out the board and we'll take a look at the proposed conditions.
That's fine, Hillary.
So this is a plan for the proposed conditions, and you can see that we are proposing two buildings, two residential buildings, and there's going to be parking garages in both buildings, and we have surface parking lot surrounding them. The surface parking lot, as you can tell, is pretty much within the same limits as the previous existing parking lot. We have sidewalks around the building. We have, abundance of landscaping around the front. We have some amenity and space in the front area in front of the buildings, and also, a landscape pool area between the two buildings. One of the issues that we had to deal with on the site is the existing base flood elevation as it is 6. The preliminary floodplain elevations that came out it had it at 12. That's since been recently revised and is now going to be 11. So in order to protect the building structures, we had to significantly raise the site in the area of the buildings to protect them from flooding. So, right now we're up at 12.75 for the finished floor elevations for the buildings. Those will come down to 11.75 with the new preliminary floodplain maps. With that raising of the buildings, it results in the fact that we had to raise the parking lots as well. So you can see we had to put in a retaining wall starting here, running to about here. And that is outside the vegetated, the bordering vegetated wetlands. No work is proposed to be within the bordering vegetated wetlands. There is some vegetation along that area, along the existing fence line where we're putting the retaining wall. And so we will have to do some selective tree removal in order to install the retaining wall. Obviously, for the construction of the retaining wall, we're going to try to work with the contractor to pick a product that's going to work best for the site to limit the amount of disturbance. Trying to think what else we have here. That hits on most of the points, unless there's something the commission has as far as questions, regarding the proposed site for us.
Okay, thank you, Hillary. What I'd like to do is open up to questions from the commissioners first, then I'll ask for any input from the audience. Commissioner Lavelle.
Hi. A question in regards to that retaining wall. I was at the site visit. Does your property extend to the other side of that chain link fence?
Yes. The property actually extends into the Sales Creek.
Uh-huh. And so your proposal was to put this retaining wall just on the opposite side of the fence, I believe?
Yes, it varies a little bit, but more or less it's either right at the fence or maybe a foot or two into the,
And that's
into the
what,
area.
and that's what led to the removal of some of the trees, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes.
Okay. Now, my next question has to do, could you compare the flow of water now on the property as it exists now for rainwater and everything, and how it will be when the project is complete?
Yes, that's an excellent question. So right now, for the existing conditions, the majority of the parking lot in the building just directly discharge to the creek. There's a little area in the existing conditions right in here that goes towards Revere Beach Parkway and will go to those catch basins existing. So really, there's no level of treatment. I mean, it's really just, runoff off of pavement into the creek, no treatment. And what we're proposing is to capture the runoff from the parking lot and into catch basins. Those catch basins would have deep sumps, and the pipes from the catch basins would lead to a water quality unit. The water quality unit is a, proprietary separator to provide 80% TSS removal. And then the buildings, the runoff from the buildings would go to infiltration systems. So we have one infiltration system for each building. That would just collect the roof runoff, and it would go into these underground retention systems and allow water to slowly percolate back into the groundwater, which we really don't have at the site in the existing condition. We are proposing two new outfalls into the Sales Creek. There's a 24-inch outfall over here and an 18-inch outfall over here. The existing site, I believe, has two 12-inch outfalls right now, and those we would abandon.
Anybody else?
Could I follow up?
Commissioner LaValle?
And that would be on your property, so you people would take care of the maintenance, et cetera,
Yes.
by the property owner?
Yes, the property owner would take care of the maintenance of all the catch basins, pipes, water quality units, as well as the infiltration system. The outfalls, which will have riprap protection, are also on the property, and those would be maintained by the owners.
And maybe this would be a good time to mention that it was also talked about you cleaning up that ditch, too.
Yes, so right now the owners are proposing to remove like the surface debris. It's quite littered in that creek right now. So when the construction would take place, they would remove all the debris, surface debris and trash from that creek in that area.
Andy,
Commissioner Raponi?
thank you. On another note, I would like you to further define when you say surface parking. Could you give us a further explanation on what you mean by surface parking and how many spaces? Please?
Yes, so the surface parking is essentially this gray area. So it's exposed to the elements, so it's a parking lot. That's what we mean by surface parking. Anything that would be covered inside the buildings, that's what we're referring to as, like, say, the garage parking. I believe right now we're proposing a total of approximately 351 spaces. I don't have the exact breakdown of between buildings and the parking lot, but we can provide that if necessary.
Are you saying that these 351 parking spaces are going to be inside the building?
No, that's a combination of the parking that's in this gray area in the parking lot outside the buildings, and there are parking spaces inside the buildings as well. So that 351 is relative to the whole site, the whole project as a whole.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'd like to open it up for any comments, questions from the audience. Anybody in the audience would like to comment on this project? Come up to the microphone, introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Andre Cazalet. I live in Garfield Avenue, 221 Garfield Avenue. That area with Sales Creek, they put a wall up there. Those poor people, especially the people that live on this side over here, they have no recourse at all. If, she said the rainwater is going to, there's two places where it's going to flow into Sales Creek. These poor people are going to get flooded. As it is now, as a matter of fact, when they put Saratanis in there, because I've been here since 1963, and when they hot top that whole area, when they put Saratanis in there, all the water and everything else like that, we get flooded all the time down there.
Could I get your last name again, please?
Cajolet, Cajolet. And I'm at
Thank you.
221 Garfield Avenue.
I got that. Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you. That's number one. Number two is the height of these buildings, really, like 6, 7 stories high. All those people now, especially in that area and at my house, we're going to lose the sun. That street, what is it, Standish, we'll never see the sun in wintertime. I don't think that's fair to those properties, those people in those properties. I'm surprised they're not here, but I can understand why they're not here, because you started this meeting at 4:15. A lot of people work till 5 o'clock, and so I don't know why you started this meeting so early.
Well, it's our normal.
I have all the time in the world.
It's our normal start time. It's been this way for quite a while. Originally, it was caused by a shortfall of the city to be able to staff a janitor after hours.
To me, I mean, it just, and how about the sewer system? What happened in the sewer system? I remember about 3 or 4 years ago, someone was trying to build a small hotel down in Revere Beach. And they said, oh, the sewer system won't take it. And it was a small hotel right by the shipwreck, right in that general area. And as a matter of fact, it's still dormant right now, if you guys know Revere Beach. And one of the biggest arguments was that the sewer system wouldn't take it. So I don't know about Garfield Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was talking loud enough. I got hearing aids, so I'm sorry. But I'm not sure that sewer system, if that's connected to the sewer system on Garfield Avenue and Standish Road and stuff like that, that ain't gonna take that. Unless they do a whole reconstruction of the sewer system in there. And maybe even the water system. But the water table in that area, really bad. You guys know this, you lived in Revere all your lives. You know that area. That area is really bad. Snowstorm, where are they gonna put the snow? They're gonna dump it in Sales Creek.
No, they won't be allowed to do that.
Okay, I'll take some pictures of it for you next winter.
Okay. Any response to the gentleman's questions, Hillary?
So the proposed project is actually an improvement on the existing conditions. So right now, we are proposing to reduce the impervious area by over 33,000 square feet from what it is now, thereby reducing the amount of runoff that's coming off the site and going into the creek. So that's important to note. That's different than what's happening, now currently. As far as the the retaining wall and his concerns about, the neighbors, obviously we're going to work to make this wall, something that's going to be presentable, since they will be able to see it. And there are plans to possibly put some clusters of plantings as well along the wall to try to, improve it as well.
Have you had any discussion with either the city engineer, Nick Rystrom, or Donnie Goodwin, the superintendent of public works, about I&I fees?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have.
Did they come up with a number that would be,
Yes, I believe we did come up with some I&I fees and some mitigation to address the gentleman's concern about, the sewer, the flows as well. That's going to be addressed in our report to the city, as far as
Okay.
how much we'll be paying in I&I.
okay, thank you. Sir, come up to the microphone, please.
I'm sorry, you said the sewer system, has that already
We have been working with the city as far as determining the sanitary capacity. So yes, we are actively working with the city and integrating that into our design.
So at this present time, you don't know this?
We have no reason to believe that it would not be able to handle the sanitary flows.
Anybody else? Any further from the commission? Sir, introduce yourself, please.
My name is Richard Everett. I'm the, one of the trustees at Standish Townhouse Condominiums at Standish and Porter in Revere. And I just want to know how people were notified on this. I did not get a notification. I live at 85 Standish. My next door neighbor, who is not in our complex, got a notice of the meeting, and the house next to him did not get one. This gentleman lives on Garfield, who does not even abut the creek, and got a notice. I just want to know how the notices were sent out.
The proponent sends the notices out. Maybe Steve or Liz can answer that, or Hillary. It's 100 feet from property line is a requirement. 100 feet from property line is the requirement.
Well, our property goes right into the creek.
And the property line is the middle of the creek, so I would think that would have been included.
Because part of our property, our complex, we cannot put up a fence or anything because the city needs an easement to get into the creek. So, I mean, the creek does abut our property. So I was just wondering, my next door neighbor got one, who is...
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't get one unless it was...
Nobody in the complex got one. And the other question I have is if they do build that retaining wall, as this gentleman said, that water in the creek is going to go, it's going to hit the wall and it's going to go into our property. If they build a retaining wall, from what I understand. Again, I know nothing about this. I'm here because my next door neighbor cannot be here, who got the notice. And so that's why I'm here trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, do you have the receipts of the certified mailing for?
No, I did not bring them with me. I forgot. But we did obtain an abutters list, and it was...
Through the assessor's office?
Yeah, through the assessor's office, and it was to be within 100 feet of the property
Okay.
boundary. I can provide those receipts
Yes, would
at
you
a later
please?
date.
Yep, okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this gentleman brought up a question that I'd like to have answered. He mentioned about access from his side. If you're building a retaining wall, would you have to leave access for the city if they had to get back to that creek too? Have you had any dialogue with somebody from the city about that?
I don't believe we've had a dialogue with the city about that specifically, but in the current plan, they would be able to access the creek from either side of the retaining wall. So either from the east side or the west side from the site, you can access the creek.
If I'm not, when we walked that site, we were able to go right from the parking lot. We didn't have to go over a fence or anything to get down there on the extreme east side.
Yes.
I don't know if the city uses that for an access at all.
They have, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yes, that would be maintained. You would still be able to access the site from the parking lot.
Is there still a power line along the back of that property? I didn't notice Saturday.
Yes, there is an existing power line that's going across the edge of the existing parking lot.
Does that come down?
Yes, that would come down.
Yeah, that was always one of the difficulties in cleaning the creek, was getting a crane there adjacent to the power line. Anything else? I prepared a order of conditions, if it's the will of the commission. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to close the hearing?
Motion from Joseph Lavelle. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by member Ann Raponi. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll sign this today. And once I make copies and send it out, there's a 10-day waiting period. But it can be appealed if anybody's interested in appealing it. Contact me. My contact information's on the website. And I can let you know how to go about doing that. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing for a notice of intent, DEP file 061066. File number hasn't been issued yet, 24 Winton Ave, enclosure of outside stairs, Charles Espinos.
Good afternoon, Anthony
One
Matera.
second, Tony, we need a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll open it.
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, Tony, you're up.
Thank you. My name is Anthony Matera, lifelong resident of Revere, 37 High Street, with Mr. Epsimos, also a lifelong resident of Revere in the Point of Pines. When we were before the variance board, which granted us a variance for this project, we stated that it was basically a safety issue because we were trying to attain a direct access from the back door to the cellar door. What we're proposing here is simply an enclosed deck, I guess you could say, a 4-foot deck with a set of stairs leading down to the ground. There's not going to be any excavation whatsoever except for some footings to support that exterior wall. So without disrupting any of the ground, we're hoping that this will pass.
Yeah, just introduce yourself and speaking to the mic,
Yeah, I'm
Charles,
sorry.
if you would.
I did call, leave a message with Mike Abel, who's he's the one that's handling the NOI for our property. He hasn't gotten back to me yet. I left 2 messages, and I'm hoping he'll get back to me so I can settle the issue that was with the state and the file number.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Matera or Mr. Epsimos? I've prepared an order of conditions for this project. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing and issue?
I'll make a motion to close. I'll second it.
Okay. Motion by Vincent Laria, second by Nick Melason, to close the public hearing and issue. All those in favor? Any opposed? Approved. Okay, so I'll make copies of this. Once I get the file number, I can send it out.
Okay.
All right, we'll see what DEP does.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And I'll send it to you, Charles.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Next item on the agenda is a vote for a certificate of compliance, 17 Noble Street. I didn't schedule a site visit, but I went down and took a look. So do we have a motion to issue?
I'll make a motion to issue.
Excuse me, Joe? It's just all done. Certificate of compliance. Motion by and Raponi.
I'll second it.
Second by Nick. All those in favor? Next item's vote to adjourn. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Adjourned at 4:45.